Hello and welcome back to the Cornhusker Cooldown. My name is Patrick Patio, and I have Joe mojojoe with me for the penultimate episode of Cornhusker Cooldown for the first season.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone a long way, so
yeah.
I don't think we should waste any time. There wasn't any CCL matches this week.
Nothing this week.
There's a little bye week before the LAN. So instead of doing anything we usually do, we're going to do some player rankings.
Here we go.
We have we've excluded UNL players because obviously we'd be pretty biased towards them.
We're on number one, baby.
So,
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, if we did UNL, we'd do like a top 5, I think. But I also think doing top 5 would kind of
makes it kind of harder.
Yeah. Because you start to fall off a little bit once you get to like 4th and 5th.
Yeah, I think it's just going to make it more complicated than anything. We're just going to...
Yeah. We'd be guessing, essentially.
If we're doing top 5, we might as well just do top 8.
There's only 7 teams.
Just rank every single player in the league. That's going to be great. But no, let's start with top lane.
The island.
The island up in the top lane. And let's go third place ranking first.
I have NDSU's Fire Alpha.
Yeah.
Solid weak side top laner.
Yeah. I think a solid pick. I had him a slightly higher, but I had Fuyu from DSU.
Yeah. And I guess I can just say it now. I had Fuyu second.
Yeah. I had Fire Alpha second as well.
I think my biggest thing was when I looked at DSU's games, especially against NDSU. Fuyu was able to either hold his own, and then I feel like he would do a little bit better than Fire Alpha than in the rest of the games. So I think it's justifiable either way to have him.
Yeah.
But
I think the reason why I put him a little bit lower was it was less important for Fuyu to do well because of their bot side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a solid reasoning. But I think that just leads us to the solidly first-ranked top laner.
Mm-hmm.
No contest.
The best top laner. The best top laner.
Probably and that's definitely Flakes for life.
From Iowa State.
Yeah.
The monster, the only carry player in the top lane in the league, I think.
Yeah. Well, and carry's a strong word.
So he's in recent matches, he's strayed away from a little bit from the Scions.
Okay.
He's been a little bit more Nars, Aatroxes, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
He still plays like Gragas or whatever, but he plays AV Gragas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he dominates top lane pretty consistently, so gotta give it to him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, has been a monster all season long.
If there was honestly, if I had an MVP vote to give out, I'd put Flakes as my MVP.
He's definitely up there for...
Because if you put like Fuyu or Fire Alpha in there, ISU is definitely dropping a lot. So
I'd agree. Yeah. I'd agree with that one. So I guess that moves us to jungle next.
Jungle. I have NDSU's green guy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't agree with that one. I had my Couchy. So that, I think, from ISU.
Yes. I think he was probably the worst player on ISU, actually.
I think I agree with you, though. I think, I'd say so, but I can't. To me, there wasn't any other junglers that felt one. Oh, I think this is the one that we're most split on.
Yeah, we're gonna have an interesting talk about some of them, but yeah.
Yeah. But what's funny is that in second, we have the same, and it's Tenkise.
Tenkise.
So
not my favorite name per se, by the way.
It's fun to say on stream.
Yeah, maybe. I think it'd be feel a little odd.
It feels better than ISU's jungler. So
but I mean, he's just consistent. So
yeah, I think so.
His team does well. So maybe it's his team making him look a little bit better because he's never been a standout per se. But
yeah.
But I have first place STS&T's Wet Dog. He hasn't always played jungle, but that's like if they have their full regular roster, that's his main position, and that's what he played all last split. And I think individually, he's the best jungler of the people I had to choose from. He's certainly the only actual carry player.
I I got to give it to you in terms of SDSMT look best whenever he is in jungle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very low bar to set, though.
Yeah. SDSMT is obviously hardest to rank their players.
Yeah.
Because they switched around the most to
Right.
different roles. And when you do that, it's harder to see some comparisons to other players when you just don't play them in the main role.
Yeah.
So
I
went by what historically I've seen. So
that's fair. I think in this season I've seen Green Guy. So I put Green Guy number 1. I think in the games that they perform well, it's whenever he's performing well. Because I think if you take a look at their team, Chanter's always going to be doing pretty solid. And if he can get Chanter ahead, and sometimes they don't even have to. I think there was a series, I think it was versus DSU, where he was playing Lilia, and he was absolutely popping off that entire series, and that made it had the biggest difference. But yeah.
I mean, I can disagree with you, but
Sure.
it is what it is. But mid lane, we have third place. We have the same one.
Same one, yeah.
NDSU's Bimaduna.
Yeah.
Bimaduna. Mid lane was the hardest for me because it felt like it had the most contenders to be in here. Like it had essentially NDSU, DSU, ISUs, and STSMTs in there, all vying for the top 3. But none of them really ever had standout performances versus each other.
Yeah.
And none of them had like really good performances against us. And there wasn't like much to go off of, I guess. So
yeah, I'd say in this role, this is the first time where it feels like there is no one who's outstanding. I think our mid laner,
Alex is the best mid laner.
the best mid laner by far.
I mean, if we can go jungle as well, Jerry's the best jungler.
Yeah.
And then, I guess I can comment on this now.
Sure.
If I were to put UNL in there, it's like there's a no contest for 3 of the roles, which is jungle, mid, support. And that's more just like they're head and shoulders above them, right?
Yeah.
I think for AD carry, myself and Melmo, 2 best AD carries in the league. I thought Dragon Slayer would do better, but he hasn't played it. But I mean, if you put me above Melmo above me, it depends on the person. Obviously, I'm going to be biased towards myself. So I think 4 of the 5, you can say we're number 1, and then for top lane, I think we're just number 2. Pretty cut dry for that as well.
Yeah.
So.
I think I'd agree with that. But I think that makes definitely this mid lane kind of difficult. I put B Maduna in third. I also put Floppa from ISU into second.
I have Thunder. I'm just going to say Spartan.
It just feels right to say
Thunder
Spartan
from DSU. He did well into NDSU, B Maduna, when they played, which is why I ranked him higher. And then I think because I have Floppa first and you have him second, but I think for Floppa specifically, it's my expectations were not as high for him, but he was, surprisingly enough, if Flakes is the best player on ISU, Floppa is probably the second best performing player on his team consistently over the split. So, because when I was watching their games, especially against NDSU or DSU or even STSMT, he was doing a lot of really good plays that was helping his team win the game, and I didn't see that from, I think, the other mid laners. So.
I think that's fair. I think I would probably just say that Thunder Spartan was a little bit more consistent overall, and because you're on the DSU roster, reigning champs.
Was he? I think he was part of it. Yeah.
But he's a part of the organization, so he's a part of the the coaching that they get there, and I think it kind of shows a little bit. So, but I think very close in this mid lane.
I think mid lane too. So we haven't mentioned him, but SCSMT's Elusive. He's the highest ranked of the the 4 I talked about earlier, and I was tempted to put him first, but then we talked about it a little before. They've been switching around roles a little bit, which lowers the stock a little bit. But then even looking about his performances against other mid laners, it just wasn't as impressive. As I
Yeah,
thought.
not what I was expecting out of him.
Yeah.
Because I think in the past he's been a phenomenal performer.
Funnily enough, yeah. I mean, he's been the most consistent player on their team for the past few years, as far as I remember. So,
but yeah, I think he just did not show that. This one, that's because he's playing 3 different roles.
Yeah, SDSMT. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit probably in the retrospective for the whole season. But SDSMT was disappointing. So
yeah, and so let's move on to ADCs.
Yeah.
I know I had Chanter from NDSU.
I had Dragon Slayer from ISU.
Yeah.
And I think Dragon Slayer, he might be better. He might not be. But from his solo queue rank versus his performance is particularly frustrating if you were like a fan of him.
Yeah.
Because I believe he's the highest ranked player in the league. He's
Really?
Diamond 1 right now. And he does not play like a Diamond 1 player, or at least like he's not showing like he's a Diamond 1 player.
Right.
His picks haven't been very good. He's been on the Sivir for whatever reason. Will put himself on the Seraphine, and I mean when he played against the best teams, he was not carrying his team. So.
Yeah, I think the thing that made me have Dragon Slayer above Chanter
I
have
Chanter second. So.
Right. Yeah. Was mainly the pool for Chanter.
Chanter's pool is
it was super easy to punish, and I think teams caught on to that, and that.
Would you compare him to a Summit, perhaps?
Yeah, but.
So is he MVP material then?
You're pulling strings. You're pulling strings.
Oh,
no, but. Yeah, I'd say in this role, I think there's a clear number 1, and I think that's what both of us put.
Yeah, I want to comment on a Chanter. For Chanter, I have him second above Dragon Slayer because at the end of the day, when NDSU won, 99% of the time, it's because Chanter gets fed. Even if it's not on Kog'Maw, they win because Chanter carries them. So
I think that's fair.
So if Chanter's, worse, their team's gonna be a lot worse.
Yeah, but an ADC who does basically always get fed, no matter what.
Yeah,
it's Melmo.
If he's not griefing his draft, he's doing really well.
Is he the one griefing the draft? We don't know.
I think it's Evan.
It could be.
If it's Evan, I'm disappointed in him. But Melmo, just a good player.
Yeah,
has a decent pool. Has been consistently doing well. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I don't think I have anything else to say. So.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
So now it moves on to support, which
I think
this one's also
this one is hard.
This one's hard,
and it's not because I think when you look at mid lane, it's like there's 4 people who I think are in there, but then at support, I'm like, I have to look at it and I have to like, is this guy really the best support in the league?
I gotta squint.
This guy's terrible.
I gotta squint and I gotta turn my head a little bit.
Yeah, it's just. The support pool feels really rough.
Yeah. Other than other than Lamprey, it felt like no
one's stepping up, being the reason why their team's winning with their engages or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No one is super consistent.
Yeah.
And that is definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that leads us to the third place. We both put Frauden.
It would have been very funny if he could be like last because he's frauding.
But
I mean, yeah, NDSU did well in their bot lane. Yeah, I said Chanter was the reason why they're winning. Mm-hmm. And that some of that credit has to go to Frauden for either peeling well or engaging well. So I looked at everyone else and couldn't put anyone above him. So
I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't have anything extra to say about Frauden. I think just solid.
Yeah, so for a second, I have ISU's Pentapants.
Yeah, I had Sacred Conviction.
Mm-hmm. So, honestly, he was the only player who I was like, oh, he can play Engage and Enchanters? Wow.
Yeah.
So, credit to you, I guess, for playing more than a few champions.
Yeah.
He did well on Thresh and Soraka specifically, I remember. Mm-hmm. So, I give him credit. ISU looked good at times, and he was one of the reasons why. So
Yeah. I think the reason why I put Pin of Pants first over Sacred Conviction was kind of a similar concept as what I've had in the past, and like some of these other ones, which is like this person, if they did step up, they were the reason why their team won. And if Pin of Pants was able to get Dragon Slayer ahead, that did help their game plan a lot. Whereas I don't think that Sacred Conviction always had to step up in the same way.
Yeah, I think Sacred Conviction was just like the most consistent and that might be because he's with Momo. But I mean, it's hard to not judge a bot lane as a whole sometimes. So yeah, I mean, they played really well. They're both number 1 for me, for Momo and Sacred Conviction. So good for you, DSU.
Yeah, I had ISU and DSUs like in that 1 and 2 spot as well. So
I mean, we do see. Do you have any trends you want to comment on? Obviously, there's only 4 teams that we even mentioned.
Right.
I was the only one with the SSMT, so you only had 3 teams.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see if I could get Iceman from Augustana in here. No, I didn't want. I did. No. I couldn't find an angle to get it in. No, I'm not. I tried to find the angle, and it was just
there was no angle.
It wasn't there. So I think that one, and I don't think anyone from USD.
No, obviously, USD BVU won't.
Yeah.
And Augustana is like such a stretch as well. So.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was, there was another team or two that made it interesting, that was, part of the top teams, it'd be a lot more, I would say, like we could discuss it a lot more. And I think if you throw UNL in here, it's like, it makes it actually sort of too easy to.
Right. I'd agree with that. Mainly just because most of the time it feels like maybe there's one clear.
Yeah.
And then, so you put the Nebraska person and you put the other clear person, and it's just like, okay, I just have to pick this last person.
Yeah.
That kind of fills out the top 3.
Almost like personal preference at that point.
Right.
So.
And then I can put Iceman. Then I can put Augustana. Let's go.
You can't. What? You're going to put him above Green Guy? Well, actually, you'd have him Green Guy second, I guess, but no.
Yeah. No, it probably.
But, I mean, varsity's not the only team that exists. Huskers Scarlet played on Saturday.
Yes, they did. And it was a rough series. We lost 0-3 versus Stun Gaming Nebula. Definitely, we're losing in a different fashion than we typically did.
Yes.
Typically, one of our... So, I'd say the part that's been consistent has been mid lane, I think.
We did pretty well there.
Yeah, I think that
specifically game 2, he was 7-1 at one point on Hue. Chet did really well in the series. I think he was the best player of the series that we had. But the reason why we lost is because bot lane lost, and not only lost but continued to keep on losing after they kind of lost lane. So
yeah. I know that we've been pushing for them to be proactive in like making sure that they make the winning condition in their lane.
They're winning their lane as opposed to like the enemy just making a mistake.
Correct.
Or whatever.
And I think maybe into a more solid bot lane what Stun Gaming had, that probably just punished them a little bit harder than what they're used to.
Yeah, and it's also like it could be just like when you are playing that, trying to be a more proactive team or player. You're going to have those games where you sort of just like int it. Might be part of it where you're pushing your bounds a little bit too far, but that's part of getting better. So.
Yeah. It just stinks when it happens 3 times in a row in playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't happen 3 times in a row. Like if it happened
like
a game or even 2 games in a 5-game series.
It's
okay.
fine.
It happens.
When it happens 3 times, that's kind of rough.
You can watch Worlds and we criticize players for that all the time. So
yeah,
I won't even get mad at you if you do it, but
yeah,
I mean, you lost the Callista Renata lane really hard.
Yeah.
Ben was like 0-7 on Renata at one point, so
it was definitely rough.
Yes, I will say, Coach Sinner said that we lost all 3 games in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you don't super love saying that.
No, you don't. We almost brought back game 2 because we had a Jinx. She started getting a little bit fed. Yeah. Had the 7-1 play, but was too little too late because they started to win fights, but they also had an open nexus.
Right.
So that's not the position you want to be in.
No, and when the games get so far out of hand that early, it's going to be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And they've never played. I mean, like this is every single one of these players has never. I don't think any of them have ever played in a 5-game series.
No, yeah.
Only person that's played competitively is mid lane, is Chet.
Yep.
It's gold card enjoyer, and I think that kind of showed in his consistency as well. I know he's also the highest rank out of that team.
Of the peak.
Yeah, peak. No, maybe not currently.
I don't know currently what the ranks are.
But so I think that kind of showed in his consistency. But like, this is a brand new roster of guys, and I think to give some credit, playoffs is still a nice that's great. That's still a good achievement.
They had a good regular season. They could have, they had chances to win pretty much all their games.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they showed a lot of improvement. Fell short of what they wanted to achieve, but it happened. So
yeah, and we'll cover more in a retrospective on how the season went and total. But that's kind of how JV is now finished. Obviously, Huskers Black, they already finished their season. That concludes Scarlet's season.
Varsity season will be done.
Oh my gosh, we're getting
weekend.
We're getting so far into the season.
We're basically done with the season.
I know, and I feel like I haven't even asked you
they don't know who we are.
Who are you? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing here? It's crazy. So I guess we're gonna take a slight.
We're gonna be 11 episodes too late.
11. Yeah. Well, like 10 episodes too late.
Well, I guess maybe
10 episodes, 11 episodes, something about math.
Double-digit episodes.
Double-digit episodes on just asking the same questions that we ask the guests that we have on here.
Essentially,
So I guess I'll start us off. You want to say who you are and what got you into League of Legends?
Well, yeah. So I'm Joe, obviously. mojojoe. Lived in Omaha. I first got into gaming specifically when I was pretty young. Had a Wii, a PS2, and whatever, and then got into a first competitive game with like Age of Empires and Age of Empires 2 back in, I want to say 2008 when I was 6.
You got into a competitive game at 6?
Yes, my dad showed me it. It was really fun. I was like not bad at Age of Empires 1, but I was really bad at 2. But anyway, so I started first getting into esports, I'd say, like 2015, 2016 with Counter-Strike. Became a SK Gaming fan. So if you know Fallen Coursera for all those guys, and then I started taking over my middle school of we just talked about esports, and then one of my friend's brothers played League of Legends. Mm-hmm. So I got recommended to play it. I started playing it, and I've been playing it for 8 years ever since then. So
nice.
I mean, I will ask you the same question.
So I guess I've always been into games. I think my big kick. So for a longest time, it was like all the Spyro games.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very big fan of those.
DSR Paygrade.
Absolutely. And the Spyro games, and then it eventually got into Black Ops 2. That was like the first online game that I played.
Not competitive, but somewhat
correct. Yeah.
Like a PvP.
So I always did the competitive, whatever the ranked part of Black Ops 2.
I've only played World at War.
Oh.
That's the only one I owned until my PS3.
So there was a ranked mode in Black Ops 2 for multiplayer, and it always felt like I gotta try super hard. I'm gonna get my MSMC, and I'm gonna get people. I was feeling very fun during that part. I had to convince my parents to let me
Xbox Live
to get Black Ops 2 just in general. So once I was able to get that, I opened up many doors into gaming, and my friend Chaz actually showed me League of Legends, and I have been cursed to this game ever since for the last 12 years now.
Over a decade.
Over a decade for
nearly half your life.
Safely over a decade.
Nearly half your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, I would say my dad is still into games and was always into games. Mm-hmm. You've heard me talk about it sometimes. He introduced me to Age of Empires. He played Tekken, still plays it sometimes, and then he plays like the new college football game. So
Come on.
I think I was probably given a little bit more freedom in that regard then. So.
Yeah. So then what kind of drew you to League of Legends?
Or just
what about League of Legends drew you in?
Obviously I just found it fun to play at first, and like all my friends were playing it back in 7th grade. I remember specifically it was 7th grade. We had like 8 or 9 people playing it. Everyone had their role, and I was like, I just found it fun. And then funnily enough, within the first month of me playing is when I started watching Low Esports.
Oh, that's so fast. Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a competitive player now. I played in esports at college.
That's crazy.
I've been engrossed in the scene ever since, and that's probably been a big factor in why I like playing it so much. So yeah.
Nice.
I will ask the same to you.
Yeah.
Why do you play League?
It's at this point, it's like just such a heavy investment. I think it just tickles a part of my brain and now that I'm into the competitive scene, like how much I get to very intentionally think about the game is very enjoyable. The process of the game is the loop of the game is very satisfying, and the competitive aspect is the thing that's keeping me around. I think the thing that drew me in so heavily was whenever I first started playing, which actually whenever I'll just kind of answer this next question, which is when you first started playing, what did you play? Which was I started with Teemo, and he was a lot of fun. And then it would be like Teemo, and then like I went Teemo top, and then I went Vigar top. Don't ask me why. Vigar top.
Okay.
And it was kind of all over the place, and then but how much fun it was to just play like the different characters. It felt like no other game at the time really had that same hit.
Yeah.
So what did you play?
So I started the day Jin was released. So
okay.
February 1st, 2016.
The Jin release was so good.
So my first champion was technically Graves. I just played him mid lane because I found him I had seen the cinematic with him before, so I was like, "Ooh, this is cool." And then I just went mid. I'd push mid and try to end the game mid.
Fair enough.
But then when we me and my friends ended up in our different roles and our different champions, I ended up in the AD carry role, and I ended up with Jin specifically because that was the champion I performed best on, the champion I found fun to play. I still find him fun to play, so yeah, that's why I'm an AD carry now, because I found AD carries fun to play. My favorite player at the time was Stixay for CLG, so
come on.
Yeah.
I think the thing that got me into support, the thing that I know got me into support, because I've mained top, I've mained ADC, I've mained support. Those are the 3 roles that I've mained so far. Was whenever I came here to Nebraska.
I know this story.
Yeah, I've played support before, but I was mainly a top lane player. I played Trundle. Trundle was my man.
And Aatrox.
Trundle, Aatrox. Well, the Aatrox before rework Aatrox. He was so much fun, especially because no one knew what he did. So that was the best part. But also I was in like bronze, so like no one knew what any champions did. True. So that didn't really matter. But then that definitely meant that no one. So top lane, and so I was trying to get into the esports scene here. And as I slowly ranked up a little bit, we needed a support player on our varsity team. So I was like,
sure,
I can learn. That sounds like fun. And it was...
You lasted, 2 splits maybe before getting replaced by Nick?
Yeah, something like that.
And then you were with me.
Yeah, and then I was stuck with you.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, it was really... It really drew me into this idea of having wider control. Oh, like in top lane, you're just on this island. You can focus on like your wave state, but like honestly, you don't have to think about macro whenever you're at a lower level.
Yeah.
If you just win lane, that's
You win
pretty
lane, you just split.
Or if your job is I'm just gonna pick Cho'Gath and I'm just gonna not die versus Darius, I'm gonna do that.
Ooh, are you gonna solo kill the Darius?
I'm gonna solo kill the Darius under my own tower. So you want to make sure that like that job was so simple, but like for support it was a lot. It felt like such a bigger
was a thinking
impact.
man's game.
It was.
You were playing chess while
I
top players were playing
started
checkers.
using my brain, which I'd never done before in league. Before that.
You do turn it off sometimes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Sometimes you can't have it on all the time. That's hard. So
you do like whenever you place a ward to get vision to turn the lights on. That's when you turn your brain off. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Can't have both of them on at the same time. So I guess let's go to this next question, which is, what is your favorite champion? Let's go. I'm gonna split it up into two types of questions, which is to play and as a concept.
As a concept and to play. Honestly, you want to go first? I might take a
sure.
hot minute.
Yeah. I'll go for. So my favorite champion to play is Karma. You can play like a psychopath on that because she's a battle mage in the support role, and you can play so aggressively with her. But if you die a couple of times because you're inting like me, you still have a pretty good impact on the lane. And because the lane is really impactful, it's a really fun kind of cycle. But if I were to say what is my favorite champion by concept, I think it's mainly due to the way that he was released. Jin's
pretty good.
Was so good. I remember because that was whenever because now the cycle of how they release champions is it's things don't really get leaked. Really? They
don't tease it as much.
They don't tease it. They don't put... It doesn't... They put in a lot of effort, but it's not in the same way like when Jin was... It was like, this random Indonesian website has this one picture, and this one has this random one, and it's a picture of Sona dying. It's got this... It's like a bunch of this stuff. It's like, oh, who the heck is this guy? Oh, my gosh. And then the reveal was amazing, and it was... And the gameplay was just as satisfying.
Yeah. Unique as well. It's not... overbearing or anything.
Right. So I think just as a fully fledged concept, and I think part of it was my freshman year roommate also helped convince me that this is the best champion. Like in concept, Ian was so adamant that this was the coolest champion in the world, and he convinced me. He convinced me pretty heavily. So
for gameplay, I'm still kind of torn.
Okay.
So one thing I like about League in general is like, I enjoy playing a vast majority of the champions. That's why I play Aram a lot, because I'm fine with playing pretty much like 90% of them.
Right.
So I'm having fun playing like Victor. I'm having fun playing Ornn, Ashe, Aphelios, Ziggs, all these different types of champions. There's some like outliers I don't like.
You're just playing a front to line team comp by yourself.
Oh, I guess. But I mean, yeah, just like I don't have a super big preference. I think Kai'Sa and Xayah specifically having a little bit more of that agency and self-peel, movement and vulnerability helps a lot. Just like my favorite part of League is the mechanical part. So having more mechanics for the champion. I will, like, to give it credit, I find like some different enjoyment in playing a champion like Ashe, where it's super simple, but like you can hone that one skill really, really, really well. Yeah. So, but I'd say conceptually, and this alludes to my favorite region, but Aurelion Sol, I think like I'm a big sucker for space stuff. Aurelion Sol,
he made space stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has one of my favorite themes. He has one of, like, the art style and the visual style. He is really well. I think both of his kits are actually good. The old kit was just like wonky and nobody played it, so that's why they reworked it, obviously. But I think Asol was a really strong like contender for champions that were just well thought out.
Yeah.
So
solid. So I guess got two more questions for you.
All right.
Let's start with, what is your favorite moment in Nebraska esports, or either moment or aspect of Nebraska esports, or what have you enjoyed most about being here?
Obviously meeting you guys, old Huskers black team. Patrick, Jerry, Jake, and Carl are my best friends now. So
Let's go. Oh my gosh. You finally said we're friends.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We've been friends for like 4 years now.
Yeah, something like that. Come on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, I think it was the first time that I played with the varsity team. Like I can visually, I remember this moment because they stuck me on Brown both games. And right after that game, we're like, hey, let's go to Blaze Pizza and do like kind of like a revamp, because I think we lost that series 0-2, but it was like really close.
Was it your fault?
I was probably it was like the first time I played. Yeah, I was the first time I played support in a long time and all this stuff. But just meeting, it was like the first time I actually got to meet people in person for esports. And
was that like Seth, Greg?
It was Seth
Thomas?
and Thomas were the ones that actually. So it was with Greg, but it was only Seth and Thomas that went to Blaze Pizza.
Oh, okay.
And then we also talked about, okay, so like after this and all this, and we're also going to go do the World's Watch Party if you want to go. And it was like the first instance of like seeing esports community. Like I had been in it for a while. And like this was actually even after the League of Legends, like the League of Legends club kind of fell off a little bit because it used to be so big. But this was post-COVID, and once I was actually able to be in person for something, it was like, oh, this like just hits different. It was like that first impact of like,
Other people.
There's people,
and they want to talk.
And
to us.
and like we can talk about the things that I'm passionate in too. Like this is really fun. Oh my gosh, I love this. And now I've gotten to experience that like over and over again, like going to Net War with you guys and getting to go to LAN with some of the teams, and now getting to coach the first time I got to like run a scrim. That was like very fun. And
watch your team lose again.
No, well, okay, we don't need to bring up that part. But like the first time that we got people in person together, like it's all those times when you bring people together. I think, yeah, I'd say that's it for me. So one last question, and this one was added by our producer.
Ooh, I might have a question then. Afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Well, this question is, how'd you get your gamer tag, and what does it mean?
Well, okay, so what it means is literally it's just mojojoe. So like, yeah. It doesn't have mojojoe. It doesn't have actually like. It's not an acronym for anything. It's not a reference to anything. It's just mojojoe. And so what happened is we were playing kickball in 7th grade, right? So yeah, I had a really good hit or whatever, and then one of my friends said, "Oh, that's Mojo Joe."
Oh.
And then that became my nickname.
Stuck forever.
And then I was like, I'll put this as my username, and then I've stuck with it for 8 years since. So
solid.
I mean, yeah, I've literally not had a different username.
I know I've had.
I know. Yeah. So you've had two.
I've had two.
DSR Paygrun.
I've had DSR Paygrun.
Patio.
Yeah. So DSR Paygrun was that one is a long-standing one. I had that one for over a decade, and I was a genius whenever I was 8. I was thinking so far ahead because I loved Spyro.
You did.
That was the coolest thing ever. He's a dragon, and that was all the thought process that there was. And so, Spyro the Dragon. Mm-hmm. It's actually a mix of all of those letters. So it's so the DSR Paygrun. So the is the in Spyro the Dragon, and then you kind of space out dragon, and you put Spyro, and you just slot it in, and then it's DSRPAYGROON. So dragon, and then Spyro laced in the middle. I was a genius. But once I started playing League of Legends, and I started doing things like competitively, I realized that name stinks to say.
Sucks.
It would like to say it.
It sucks either way, to be fair.
No, it doesn't. It was super cool.
I want to ask how old you were when you made that.
Oh, I was 8.
You were 8?
I was 8.
Oh.
I was a genius.
You were 8 years old.
I was, and I will stand by that name. But I just thought, like, that's going to be a hard name to say, and if I want to keep doing this, I should think of a better name.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me some time, but I landed on Patio, because first off, my name's Patrick. My last name's Oral.
Your name's Patrick?
My name's Patrick. Hello. Nice to meet you. And so, first name Patrick, last name Oral. And so, Patio, it kind of has my name in it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more like sounds good on broadcast.
It sounds better, yeah.
We actually, there's even an awesome moment that I can remember where
so bad.
It was amazing. That guy was so proud of himself.
It makes no sense, to be fair.
So we were playing a competitive game. This was whenever we were on Peak Azurite, I think.
It was the Huskers Black team.
Oh, it was with Huskers Black?
So it was
throwback. And so we were playing a game, and one commentator, he was casting over the top, and it was kind of in a down
We like
moment.
to rewatch the streams after we win a game, specifically.
Just for this moment.
Just for the ego.
Yeah. And so we're going back in this, and it was kind of in a down moment. And then one guy, you can just hear him start to smile because he's got an idea. And he says, you know why they call this guy Patio? It's like, no, why? Because he carries people.
Because patios carry people.
Because patios carry people.
It makes no sense. Patios don't carry people.
But this patio does. So, but then it's stuck ever since. So
it's been a meme for us ever since.
It's been phenomenal ever since. I love referencing it.
I think we make fun of referencing it. To be fair.
Yeah, I unironically reference it because it's It's a good memory for me. So you had one more question.
I had one more question. So we talk about esports a lot, pro scene a lot. I was sort of like, what got you into the pro scene at first? And what is your favorite team / player, I guess?
So those are actually I've kind of a same. It all lumps into one moment.
I know what moment it is as well.
And it's a good moment. We've talked about it a couple of times, but
Breaking Point.
No, not Breaking Point. But my favorite team is Team Liquid.
Yep.
Love Blue and love that team. And it all started from, I think I was just watching YouTube and I saw some highlight clips, and it was Phoenix getting a quadra kill, 1v4 under tower. And I thought that was the most insane. Looking back on it now, it's not the most insane thing.
This is you could probably see that just in a gold game.
You could just, it's not actually that impressive. The way that everyone else died, but I was like,
Afumu does just
4 of them. He
walk under tower and dies to Azir tower.
I've watched that a couple of times. I'm like, that is actually not that impressive. At the time, that was the coolest thing that has ever happened.
To be fair, it is just a cool moment.
It is. It was awesome, and ever since, I'm a guy that likes to stay loyal to things, and I like to stick to things. I was like, Team Liquid, coolest team ever. I'm gonna stick with them. So I stuck with them before they were good, and then while they were good, and then when they sucked for that little bit, and now still
when they're good again.
Now they're good again. Let's go.
So yeah, I started in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016, CLG had just replaced Doublelift and Pobelter with Huhi and Stixay, right? This was the year that Immortals went 17-1, right? Their one loss came from Darshan backdooring on Fiora, and that was just such a cool thing for me. They're the sum is greater than the parts team, and then they take down the super dominant team and whatever. And then I became a CLG fan. My friend became a TSM fan. We had a little rivalry there. I remember watching the finals for that TSM CLG series there. And then I've been a CLG fan ever since. I mean, I rode the high of CLG at first because we won a split. And then, 7 long years later, we won another one.
Yeah.
But
and that's when everything went wrong.
And then we became NRG, and then we sold our spot. But for the record, my favorite player, Viper. So I first started getting into the international, non-North America pro scene in 2018, and I started watching LCK, and there were these 2 teams, Damwon and Griffin, that were just qualified for the summer split, and then Griffin went to the finals in this summer split, that same split.
Right.
And Viper was just this 17, 18-year-old superstar, super good mechanically player that I just looked up to. So I've been following him ever since. So I was a fan of Griffin for those 3 years that he was on. Then he went to EDG, and then I was an EDG fan for the 2 years he was on. Now he's on Hanwha Life. You've seen the Hanwha Life jersey if you watched the other episodes. So I've been a Viper fan for quite some time now. So yeah.
Well, nice. Well, I don't have any more questions. Do you have anything else?
I mean, just a reminder, CCL Land for Varsity is on the 16th and 17th, essentially the 2 days after this will come out. So you can watch that on twitch.tv/Trojan Esports. I will put it in the league announcements and the watch party right before we start. Saturday we play at around 2-ish, so be aware then. And then if we make finals, which we will, we'll make finals. It'll be late on Sunday night. So.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Yeah. I'm excited. It'll be a lot of fun.
You're gonna see the trophy. At least a trophy.
Yeah, we'll
next
see
week. So.
A trophy, because actually, no matter what, we get a trophy.
Do you get a trophy for 4th place?
I believe so. You get a really tiny one. You get like a really, it's like.
Maybe I don't want the trophy then.
But if we get 4th, that's gonna be.
That'd be a
that's not
very
gonna happen.
disappointing.
That's not gonna happen.
No, it's not.
So stay tuned for that. Check the announcements for that. This is episode 11. We have one more episode left where we'll cover how the season went and everything. So we'll hope to see you guys there next week.
Bye.